to the M2 podcast. I am your host, Mad Mike. The other co-host, Mr. Kyle Heath.
Hello, hello.
This is the show where we cover esports and personalities, gaming industry related news, new and upcoming games, and also some technology and innovation. This is episode 4. We got a pretty good show for you today. But before we get started, we just want to go ahead and do a quick little promo. We have a guest that's coming on the show for the next episode. Lila's so sweet. She's going to talk a little bit about esports in general, some HCS Halo competitions, especially the HCS event that happened in Raleigh, and it was a good experience. It was a good little show. So without further ado, Kyle, what do you have for us this week?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so the stories we have for this week, very exciting stuff. The first thing I wanted to cover was some brand new streaming hardware. I guess just PC hardware in general. It's certainly beneficial, I think, to a lot of streamers. It can be beneficial to a lot of streamers, but there's also use for this, just a general day-to-day PC gaming application. And it's a company called Beacn. This was a company founded by two of the GoXLR main tech, I guess, developers. They released this new audio interface under a different company. They left GoXLR, even though GoXLR is still active and they're still making products. The main, I guess, brains behind that left, and they started Beacn. They launched 2 devices. Probably saw in the little intro there. It's Beacn Mix and the Beacn Create, both at different price points. The main differences between the two are just general hardware. I'm pulling a video from Harris Heller over at Alpha Gaming because he always does great showcases of tech like this. But essentially, if you're watching the video version, you can see there's a whole software interface with this piece of hardware. And essentially, there's 4 knobs. There's 4 different channels you can send audio through. The software seems to be fairly intuitive for the most part in terms of if you're just trying to pick this up and make your stream sound amazing, or just manage your audio. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a huge headache trying to learn everything. And overall, it seems pretty. I don't know if it's personally for me. I don't know if this is going to be something that's like groundbreaking or something that's like that everyone's gonna get. It's certainly a lot. I think it's a lot easier to use than something like a GoXLR, because all it is in terms of I/O is just one USB-C cable that just plugs directly into USB-C on your PC, and then you can control pretty much every piece of software that gives or receives audio on your computer, just in one interface. So I don't know. What do you think about something like this, Mike? Does this sound interesting to you?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. So pretty much for the people that are only listening, the idea is to really have multiple knobs, like physical knobs that you can put like the device on your desktop, and you can literally just turn it left and right for volume, and you can set the knobs for, like, let's say one's for your mic being not necessarily the gain, but like the pickup of your mic, and then you can adjust the other ones and set it to whatever you want. So like if you're playing a game, you can adjust that volume separately. If you're like Discord chat talking to your friends, or like, I don't know what other Discord, I guess Xbox app would be a good idea too. Or if you like listening to music and like somebody's talking or something's happening in the game, you can immediately cut that off so you don't hear it.
Yeah,
It, but you can do it on. It's definitely a convenience thing
for
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely not a required device by any means. It's definitely a premium thing, but then again, I don't know. The price points aren't bad. It's a 150 for the lesser model, which is I think the Beacn Mix, and the Creates runs at 199. It's just $50 more. The main difference between them is the Beacn Create is definitely tailored towards content creators, and then the Beacn Mix is tailored towards the day-to-day PC gamers that just want to be able to easily handle their audio without having to fumble through a bunch of software. They can just have the 4 knobs. They can adjust it however they want. And you see the interface is even stripped between the 2 devices. And with the Create, it does have stuff like submixing. So if you are, for example, playing music for yourself and you want your stream to hear the music as well, maybe at a different volume. You can adjust it so that the stream hears a different level compared to you. Um, and you could do that with any audio source, and that's an example of something I'm to create that the mix doesn't have. The mix just worries about what you hear in your headphones, and you don't have to. You're obviously not streaming or anything, so it's just what you want to hear.
Yeah, there's a couple of things about this. So, have you ever used the volume mixer that's built into Microsoft Windows?
Yes, I have.
That's essentially what this is, really. But it's just you always have it up and you can physically turn the knobs for you
Yeah,
instead of just using the software.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's a good point. I mean, especially on the mix, it's definitely just a hardware slider essentially for any audio source.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, the what's the price point you said?
it's 150 for the Beacn mix, which is the lesser one, and then 199 or 200 for the Beacn Create.
That's kind of a tough sell, I think. But I don't really know the hardware. Um, oh, there, yeah, it shows the prices right there off
Yeah,
of Harris' video. I think I just came across something that is a different brand and it's made for musicians. Like they have it was originally for people that like play guitar and like record, and they also have like a studio mic similar to a GoXLR, but I remember it being cheap. So I'll have to do some research and we can do like a side by side comparison, I think. But
yeah,
this little gadget really, I mean it's really interesting.
yeah.
And if in Harris's video, does he recommend it?
It's one of those things I think, and I've seen other creators too. He certainly recommends it if you don't already have something like a GoXLR, because a GoXLR, especially like I have the Mini, and like watching this video, I'm definitely not gonna buy either of these products because the GoXLR does everything I already need, and like the whole submixing thing is cool and all, but I mean I personally like what I hear in my headphones to be exactly what like a stream hears. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
again, the GoXLR provides that already, so I certainly don't see myself buying either of these ever. But I mean I don't know if like GoXLR breaks and it's hard to find, I may consider it, but I guess there's scenarios. But
Yeah, so
um
it's basically a cheaper option,
yeah,
is what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean it's compatible. I mean the big thing too is it's compatible with any microphone, even USB mics, which the GoXLR does work with USB mics. However, you don't take advantage of any of the preamps or anything in the actual
Right.
GoXLR mixer. It's all processed through the mic. So it's kind of pointless to get a GoXLR if you have a USB mic. But something like this would be perfect. If you already have a USB setup and you don't want to, and you just want something to simply route audio and make sure you hear everything how you want. This could be a perfect option. So it's definitely kind of niche, and if you already have a good audio setup, there's really no point in getting it. But it's good for entry level.
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth doing research on for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, at least getting into that type of technology and understanding it
yeah.
because you could take your stream to a whole nother level with that.
I mean, yeah,
Really could.
really. I mean, it enables. I mean, my GoXLR, I think it's become like a crucial tool for me. Like if I'm ever streaming, just being able to mix on the fly and hear what the stream hears, and it's made audio in general. I mean, the software is fairly intuitive too. So it's just made audio really easy to manage. And I think for a lot of streamers who don't want to spend hours finding out, researching how to use a compressor or a noise gate, they can just look at the software and it explains pretty well. Pretty straightforward about what everything does and how it affects your audio. And the software too, from what I've seen in review videos for the Beacn, is certainly the same way. Since it's the same people that developed the GoXLR and that kind of software, they took a lot of the analytics and stuff they took. They were able to take that with them when they left, and they've really tailored this product to certainly streamers. I think the most. Um, and it kind of leads into the other piece of this, which is the USB dynamic mic that they have also put out. Um, and this is, as you can see, looks very. If you're watching on video, looks very familiar to a classic dynamic mic that's already out there. The Shure SM7B. They certainly have
Yep.
taken that style. But this is a USB dynamic mic. It does have a pretty well, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't say like a crazy price point. It's definitely a higher end. It's I want to say it was 280. He says in the video at some point. It's more expensive than those mixers though. Um which is yeah, and
Yeah.
Alpha Gaming he even goes into the video about, why this mic is $280 because it's like it almost seems hard to justify. But I mean
That might be the most expensive USB mic I've ever seen, I think.
yeah.
That's close to
One
$300 including taxes.
I mean yeah, especially one that doesn't have like XLR at all cuz like
Right.
there's USB mics at that price point, but they also have an XLR option on the mic. So the fact that this is just straight USB for that price point, you're asking a lot. But especially Harris's video and others who have made videos go on to explain, what makes this a premium product. It has some very he's showing off the software as well in the video. The software that comes with it looks to be fantastic. I mean, it's even more intuitive than probably GoXLR software, and it also has a lot of it has some hardware built in to the microphone itself to really combat against peaking. So even if you were to and he shows in the video that even if you like drastically change your position on the mic or you're just right up against it, it's very it does a very good job of not like blowing out eardrums, which is very cool. So it's got certainly has a lot going for it. I mean, it seems like a premium product, but at the same time, it could be a case of if you want a good sounding USB mic, you could just buy a quadcast, and with a little initiative and a little research, you can really make that mic sound great. So it's like, is it really worth it? I guess. Software looks cool, but it certainly is a premium product.
Yeah, for me personally, if I'm spending close to $300, I'm buying an XLR mic.
Yeah,
I mean, you're just gonna get better out of it, like more things out of it.
yeah,
But if the software is what sells this, I mean, Harris seems in this video like he's enthusiastic about it.
yeah.
I trust his opinion more than most YouTubers, to be honest.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah. I mean, he always gives he always gives like reviews straight and stuff like that. And like Beacn, I know in this case they sent him the products, but he said they didn't pay me to like talk about them, so I can say whatever I want. But I think most YouTubers even nowadays they'll make sure in the contract I can say whatever I want even if you pay me. So um so yeah, but I mean he has nothing but good things to say about it. I think that team over there has done a really good job, and it looks like they've made a solid product. I mean, looking at some of especially like the software that is on the actual hardware of like the mixers, it looks pretty fluid and easy to use. So they definitely have put time into this. It's not just like a quick cash grab.
Yeah, they've definitely come a long way with the technology, for
Yeah,
sure. I
I
mean,
mean,
for right now, you know what mic I use, right?
yeah, the quadcast, right?
Yeah, I use the
Yeah,
Quadcast. And it's like
sounds
I did a couple of different software bits for it, and I think it sounds great.
yeah. No, I think it does too. Sounds fantastic. I mean, and
S
that's kind of why I mentioned it earlier. Like, you could take any USB mic and like maybe not
You can
like the
adjust it.
maybe not like the really bad Razer ones, but like you can take most like USB mics and make them sound pretty good. So it's certainly more easier to set up too than like an XLR setup. Although I feel like if you are going to get an XLR mic, you should just get a GoXLR because it makes the setup very easy, and
Oh, oh yeah.
you can use pretty much any dynamic mic without needing like a cloud lifter or any extra equipment, which is nice. So I mean, I've also heard too that um some especially like in the streaming space when it comes to audio that most people that they think like the industry and like most people are going to start going towards USB mics because it's just easier to set up, and like overall it's a lot less cables, right? Because if you just have one USB-C cable instead of like an XLR cable and then a USB cable and then a headphone jack to connect to something, like if I'm like my wireless headset, I need a headphone jack, a 3.5 to connect to the GoXLR, and GoXLR connects XLR, and then there's a USB connection to that goes to my computer. And if you have like the bigger GoXLR, you also need to like power that thing because You can't. It doesn't. It's not
Yeah,
bus
it needs an
powered.
amp.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it certainly is a lot less to worry about. And even like a setup like this, I've heard of people that have had issues where they'll have like hissing or buzzing in their audio and they're not even sure like what it is, and then they come to find out it's like two cables that were touching each other when they shouldn't have been, and so they like reroute their cables and it sounds fine. It's like there's a lot of room
Yeah.
for error. So
That's the typical like negative feedback that you get in everything now. And
yeah.
I know for me personally with my USB mic, all I'm doing is just USB cable. And it's a really long cable too, and it's hooked up to my computer, and then I have an actual auxiliary cable that goes into a mix amp. So if I'm playing a game and I'm like, sometimes you know when you like deafen your own voice with your headset,
Yeah.
and you're like playing a game and you can't hear your own voice. So I have the auxiliary cord to basically make it so I still get my voice in my headphones.
Mm.
Kind of is like that I can properly pronunciate,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because if you can't hear your own voice and you start talking, you can actually like mess up words
Oh
pretty
yeah.
easily.
Yeah,
So
that's the biggest thing too with the GoXLR is they have like real time monitoring, which I use always, even if I'm just in Discord, like not streaming or doing a video. It's like it's just nice. I've gotten used to it at this point, so it's
it's
good to
super
know.
convenient,
Yeah, it's good
especially
to
if people like walk in behind you and say something, you can hear them if your
yeah,
mic's on.
exactly. It's just you have more awareness, and it's
Yep.
important to know how you sound, especially when doing content.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it, Mike. You think about getting a $280 mic anytime soon?
No, not really. I mean,
Not
the
either.
mic I have right now is holding out. I'm a little bit upset that Quadcast came out with like their newest version of mic. It's been a while since I looked up HyperX stuff, but I know for like it was a year after I got the Quadcast, they came out with one that had like the crazy LED colors.
Yeah,
Right now, all I have is red.
just red.
It's just red. Just red when it's on. I mean, it's not bad. It reminds me that I'm like recording, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to have a little bit more options, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the Hyper S, Quadcast S or something like that. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
what
I
is it,
think
like 60 more dollars too for
oh,
RGB?
I don't know if it's that much more. I hope not. I hope it's like $10 you can get away with.
Yeah.
$10 is like nobody's really gonna complain, but they're gonna think about it when they buy it.
Yeah.
$60, we're talking Twitter feeds, like going crazy, people protesting,
Yeah.
riots in the streets.
Also, that mic sounds pretty good. You're like hanging it above like a boom mic, and it sounds like it's right up
Oh yeah.
against your face. So
Yeah.
you did a good job setting up your audio. I'll say that you took time and it shows.
I forgot what I was watching. I was watching for anybody that creates content, this is the one advice that I learned and you have to implement. The only thing that really matters, like right off the rip, is audio. Like
Yep.
if somebody comes across your stream, across your video, and if the video is just kind of blurry or it's like pixelated, it's like it's not that big of a deal. But if the audio is messed up, like if your mic is too loud,
Yeah.
like instantly everybody leaves.
Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
it's like if you don't have your mic loud enough, but your game is way too loud, people are leaving.
Yeah.
Like you gotta
Exactly.
find the balance.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Audio.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they say, right? I think the order is like audio, lighting, video. It's like the main like
Yeah.
three, and in that order. So
Yeah.
you always have to have good audio, but your video, like your camera could be great, but if your lighting's bad, then what's the point of having a
Your
good
rip.
camera? So
It's rip.
yeah, it is. They also it looks like they have a white version of this mic as well. Looks pretty nice.
I'd,
Not gonna lie.
I could do it with a paint can. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I guess yeah, you could take the shell off. It's aluminum. He showed that in the
Oh,
video too. It's
really?
like actually metal. So yeah, that's I guess it's part of the price tag.
Well,
Yeah,
I would hope so.
yeah, right. I mean, you're paying that kind of money.
It better not break easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You could do a good old Casey Neistat paint job and just color whatever you want.
Yep. So, shall we head over to, I guess, more gaming industry related news?
Oh yeah,
Microsoft's been up to?
for sure. Yeah, this article comes from Tom Warren over at The Verge, one of my favorite news outlets to get stories because it's just like straight into the point. Um, they talked about Microsoft is making the Xbox subscriptions more flexible after UK regulation steps in. And just to go into a little more detail about it, they're making the Xbox subscriptions a little more flexible after the UK regulator raised concerns, which is UK's Competition and Markets Authority. The secured undertakings for Microsoft, they will improve accidental renewals for Xbox Live Gold and Xbox Game Pass subscriptions. Microsoft has agreed to offer refunds to Xbox subscribers that are on recurring 12-month subscriptions and even cancel inactive memberships if customers are reminded how to stop payments and still continue not to use a membership. So I personally am a huge fan of this. I think it's very pro-consumer, and I think I really wish more like companies would implement this type of policy, because I think oftentimes, like, especially in like a 12-month renewal process, like there's a lot of people that forget. And I
Yes.
think if especially if like you just see the charge on your like bank account or something, and it's like 2 days after like the initial charge was made, I feel like it's necessary to have a grace period. And so the fact that the UK government was able to push Microsoft to implement a kind of fallback or a safety net is I think it's a huge step, and I think it's something I hope more companies follow. I don't know, what do you think, Mike?
See, I thought for me, I always thought that this was already a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one of my family friends, their, yeah, my friend, his his Xbox Live membership of 12 months, like the yearly one, like we're talking about now, renewed, and it was under his parents' credit card. And his parents just called like right away. It was just like, "Oh yeah, we don't really use Xbox Live anymore. Can you refund us?" Now they had to go through a couple of hoops and couple of managers, but eventually they got
Yeah.
their refund.
Yeah.
But I guess what they're talking about here, it's like it should be almost instantaneous,
Definitely. Yeah, and
and
that
that's really good.
yeah, and I mean that's a good point, because that's exactly how I think it probably is now. Is like you could get it canceled, but you're probably gonna have to talk to like 6 different people before it happens, and you're gonna have to be
Yep.
angry. But now,
Oh yeah.
hopefully, now this process is gonna be a lot less stressful. Especially if you don't want to make that payment. So, um, the article also goes on to talk about more details about some of it and kind of explain, what classifies as inactive memberships, how they're going to provide better information on price increases, and just better upfront information overall about the subscriptions. Um, but again, I think the fact of having that safety net alone is like just going to be worth it.
Yeah. Microsoft is trying to build that brand of like the good guys in gaming.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the future price raise point too. I was trying to remember if they've done, because I know, especially like Game Pass for PC, that I know that price increased. I don't. I think I
Yes.
remember because I originally subscribed to that at like $5 a month, and then I remember that changed to 10. And I don't think there was like a communication, at least not like a effective one, that came out or like let me know like, hey, this is going to $10 soon. Um, it may have been like an email or something, but that
Yeah,
was
they
really
got put
it.
into your like junk folder probably.
Probably, yeah.
You know, like the promo folders that they have. I think the increase from 5 to 10, I don't remember hearing about that either. But the 10 to 15 with the ultimate, that was like a campaign thing that they did.
Yeah.
They were like, "We're raising the price, but guess what? You can get it anywhere now." And that's when they were pushing out like xCloud and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I,
Like Game Pass Ultimate in general is like it's worth it, man. Like the fact that they're doing that at 15 a
yeah.
month, insane.
Yeah. I
Unmatched.
mean, if you break down the math, you're just like, all right. I mean, if you're stingy with money, right? Which I am. So I'll do the math and like, okay, $15, 12 months, right? Full year. And then I'm like, how many full AAA title games is that? Like how many games do I
Yeah.
have to download a year and beat in order to get my money's worth? But it's really just like, dude, you can get on there and download like 30 games that you've never heard of before or that you've never played before, but they're like highly rated,
Yeah.
and it's too good of a deal to pass up.
Yeah. Like originally I thought whatever, especially when I got Game Pass Ultimate, I was like, when I first got it, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna be like, hey, I just want to play a game. Or like my friends are ever gonna be like, yo, let's check Game Pass. But it has happened a couple times since I've had Ultimate. And I'm
Oh
very
yeah,
like, we've had like great times. Like we played Tropico 6, which is available on Game Pass. And like those type of like simulators and stuff like that I've never done. But we like hopped on that. We played that for days, and it was a blast. Like we would have never played that without Game Pass. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple that I can think of right off the bat. It's like Rocket League. I actually got right when it came out. My buddy bought it for me.
mhm.
But then eventually it got on Game Pass, and I was able to encourage my friends to get on it too because it was on Game Pass. And then it ultimately went free to play, like literally 2 months after. But but then like old school games that I loved playing as a kid, like in the arcade, Tropic Thunder, which I'm not sure if you know about. Have you ever
Oh
heard of Tropic Thunder
yeah,
before?
part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, the boat racing game.
Yeah.
It's on Game Pass.
Is it really?
Yeah. I remember, I think it was the Xbox version, and I was like, "This game was part of my childhood," and I just play through it, like, get some of my buddies on that we used to play together as kids, and I'm like, "Alright, let's go." Play for, like, 3 days straight. So much
Yeah.
fun.
God, it's so good. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
um, yeah, Tropico 6 was one for me. Even the there was a new kind of like those strategy kind of like I was about to say society builders, but kind of like city builders that came out. That was like a newer release too, and that was day one Game Pass, and so we played that too for a little bit. Um, there's definitely been some cases of that, and even like when I'm looking for games to like play on stream, since like it's I tend to go to more single player games. It's just like
Mhm.
that's always the first thing I check is Game Pass, just to see what's out there. There's still stuff I haven't
Yeah.
touched. So.
I mean, I think I came across, Maneater on Game Pass.
Oh
I
yeah,
did. Yeah, it
yeah.
came on game that game is the best. I love that game. It's so much fun. I don't know if you were watching my stream, but I was literally giggling with some of the stuff that was going on. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
So
I saw some of the YouTube shorts you made on it. Of just like the sheer like just like yeah,
ridiculousness.
like the sheer just ridiculousness of that game, and especially the opening. It's like, gosh, it's so funny.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
it's so good.
but yeah, I don't think there's too much else to really touch on. I just think this is exciting, I think, and hopefully more companies follow it. So
Yeah. I mean, Microsoft just keeps winning.
yeah, for
I
sure.
hope they don't lose. 'Cause we'll look like fools. We're gassing them up pretty big right now.
uh, mark our words. Our words.
Facts.
Anyways, today is the 3rd of February as we record this. Dying Light 2 is supposed to come out tomorrow, February 4th. However, if you pre-ordered it on PC, it was actually available at 7 p.m. on the 3rd, oddly enough, due to global launch times. So people are playing it as we're recording this. But a little earlier or maybe a little later, last week and early into this week, Techland, the main developer, had come out and stated there were early copies out in the wild, which is no surprise. I mean, any game that comes out, especially a week or two before, there's review copies out, and there's also people that just somehow get their hands on the game early. They were telling anyone who gets the game early to please try and hold out and play the game on release whenever the day one patch comes out, because the day one patch has a lot of different fixes. It was 1,000+ bug fixes that they'd found in the past month alone. Very big patch, and it really kind of it certainly makes the game a lot better. I mean, I think the idea, like I feel as though some people don't like the idea of a day one patch, but I feel like especially in today's like gaming, market and economy, it's kind of like it's almost necessary for companies to do it. They should take advantage of kind of being able to push out an update on the fly and fix things. It can also discourage probably some features and stuff from going into games day one, which there's definitely two sides of the coin there. But Techland was very transparent of, if fans can wait for the day one patch, they will get the absolute best experience they think this game has to offer on day one. So I don't know, what do you think about something like this, Mike?
Well, I mean, I think this is a growing trend that is becoming more of a standard for developers, and it actually like I guess a good example of this is when Halo 2 first launched back in like 2004. I think it was 2004. It was either 2004 or 5. And I remember being really annoyed when that game came out because it was like this is back when they put everything on discs. You didn't just download it. So you would download the game, or you play the game immediately, and it would hit you with an update of like fixing stuff. And it was like a couple months later, they're like, okay, now you have to pay an extra 10 or $15 to get DLC packs. So the maps. And it's like they used to charge for that. And if you like, I'm not a developer, but as a consumer, I got pretty upset that I'm like, okay, I'm finally about to get this game that they've been working on for like years. And there's a day one update. It's like, how does that make sense? Why didn't you just finish the game and then put it in it?
Yeah.
So I think that the outrage back then in like 2005, mid 2000s was pretty big. But now it just seems like everybody's kind of like, of course your game's going to launch unfinished.
Yeah.
It seems like they're just trying to meet the deadline. And like you said, there's two sides to the coin. They're trying to meet the deadline, but they don't get everything finished. But they try to play catch up during like the distribution phase to the consumers, right?
Right.
So then they issue the update because the internet's a thing now, like fully a
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
So you can get away with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, also this game, I don't know the exact date, but I know Dying Light 2 went gold a while ago just off pre-orders. Um
Oh
which
wow,
is yeah, I mean this is a game that was slated to come out spring of 2021.
that's
That
right.
didn't happen. It came out, I think it was delayed to October. That didn't happen. Got delayed to December. That didn't happen. And then it got delayed till February. And they're finally coming out with the game. So people who have been wanting to play this game have been, 2018 was the first time I think this game was showcased at E3. And so we're just now, it's like almost 40 years. We're fine, like we're finally getting the game. Which is exciting, but yeah, I mean, the whole pre-order, I guess I'll call it meta for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
Certainly is there's it's just it's both hurting games significantly and maybe also encouraging in other aspects, but it's uh it's easy to look at the negatives, that's for sure.
yeah. I mean, you're taking a big risk, no matter the developer, whether it's an indie developer, a private project, or like a AAA, like fully funded and backed developer.
Mhm.
It when you pay for the alpha or the beta access or anything like that before the actual release, you're definitely taking a risk.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah, I mean this whole thing I saw also sparked debates about early reviews of the game. Obviously, any any game that cares about like what the consumer wants will always try and especially single player titles will always try to send out review copies weeks prior to the major outlets, major news
yeah,
outlets, IGNs, the GameSpots and all that. So there was some controversy I saw on Twitter of you know them these especially IGN's review. IGN said that the game was a buggy mess and to kind of wait, for patches in order for the game to be playable and maybe wait until the game's at like a discount to buy it, that type of thing. And there was, consumers that were directly kind of tweeting at Techland and the Dying Light game Twitter saying what's the deal with this? Like, why are you sending these early copies and then coming around and saying, oh, by the way, wait for the day one patch because it's gonna get a lot better. Why are you doing this? And why should we even listen to these reviews if it's just gonna be all fixed in the day one patch? And credit to Techland because they were very transparent about saying the way it is we send out these review copies and we know for sure that they're not getting the absolute best day one version of this game, and we're willing to take that hit so that the consumer sees what at least the core content of this game is and what this game will have to offer. um and so they're completely willing to take that hit and just reassure people and consumers that this is they've worked hard to put out a day one patch and make this game even better than especially in terms of bugs and what these reviews are saying. I've also heard reviews of the story in general just kind of being lackluster at times, and maybe the ending is not what most people may want, especially people who follow Dying Light closely. But I mean, I've also heard great things about the core mechanics and the parkour in the game because that's like a huge thing. Um, just overall the game in general, the journey is fantastic. So I think it's I'm excited to play it. I actually have it pre-ordered, and I'm gonna be playing it this weekend. So I'll give I
Oh,
can't even give my review next week.
yeah,
Um,
you should.
yeah, um,
Give us a quick rundown.
yeah, I definitely will. Give my thoughts on it, but I'm excited to play the game, and I know my friends are too. So I think it'll be a good co-op experience, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. So, what's going on in the world of Sony?
Ah, it's a good question, Mike, because it's pretty interesting world over there. Sony in the is this the acquisition mania of January? Is that what this is? I don't know. This
Yeah,
has certainly been the most gaming buyouts and deals I've seen. I've seen more in the past month than the past 3 years. It feels like. Um, but
yeah, it's
Sony,
crazy.
yeah. But according to The Verge, Sony is buying Bungie, developer of Destiny and the original creator of Halo, for a deal that is worth $3.6 billion with a B. Very insane deal. Bungie put out a tweet Monday, the 31st of January, right before February, saying that they were excited to be partnering with Sony. Feel like Sony will offer them limitless potential in terms of not only the game, but maybe in other aspects and other mediums they may want to take the Destiny universe into. Which articles have gone on to say that I think that's a big thing for Sony, is just not only giving them more potential to make the game better and probably faster updates, but also maybe if they wanted to delve into like movie and TV. Because I mean, I think the overall story of Destiny is very interesting, and it would definitely be. I think I think if they do it right, it could be a great TV series or movie about just the lore. Because it's interesting stuff, and I think with the Sony acquisition, they may have some potential to do that. What are your initial thoughts, Mike?
Initial thoughts before I actually knew. It was kind of one of those, just the way things played out with the acquisitions just in gaming, with Microsoft going out and buying Activision Blizzard, and then Sony being like, everybody thinks there's an Xbox versus PlayStation war, right? So it's like Sony's like, okay, let's go after Bungie. Bungie was the original creators of Halo and Marathon and a bunch of other epics, but it's like this was a deal in the making for a long time, so it wasn't that at all.
Right.
Um, I think I agree with you. I think Bungie has some of the best writers in gaming. Just look at the Halo story and the Destiny story. This definitely has some potential to get into some type of live action. The actual evaluation of 3.6 billion dollars is kind of shocking to me, though. I don't. They don't have any of the rights to Halo, so it's just Destiny
Yeah.
that's really being valued at 3.6 billion.
Mhm.
And I understand that the fan base is pretty dedicated to Destiny, and they have a pretty solid player base.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just a crazy evaluation. But I mean, that's just the market now. It
Yeah.
is what it is. If it's bought for 3.6 billion, that's how much it's worth.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I think it's pretty good for PlayStation. Really, I think this is a win for the Sony guys.
Definitely. For sure. And I really wish I had an article on hand. But I do know that Bungie is working on a entirely new IP, and there's also been speculation into this acquisition that they're also buying into that as well, not just Destiny. Although Destiny is, it is a live service that they have maintained pretty adequately. So that certainly is going to make a ton of money. But there's also a future of, new IP with Bungie. So they're certainly, I think, buying into that as well. And again, just the potential to take the Destiny universe and just expand it out to other mediums.
Yes.
Um, there's certainly a lot of potential there. And
Yeah.
speaking kind of on to, you kind of talked about that, this wasn't necessarily a punch back at Xbox and Microsoft. There was an article, I pulled an article from IGN as well as gamesindustry.biz, one of the main writers over there, Christopher Dring. He actually did an interview with the CEO of PlayStation, Jim Ryan, and they of course went into more detail about what this means, what this deal kind of means for Bungie and Sony, and sort of their plans. Um, and he had said he even made some tweets kind of discussing some of the more details. Um, and he said that especially after the video review, the motivation behind Sony's acquisition of Bungie was to help boost their own abilities to make live service and multi-platform games. Equally, Sony kind of unlocks the potential for Bungie to strengthen its technical capabilities and the prospects of having the game's story, adapted to movie and TV. But he also says that the deal was in the works for the past 5 to 6 months, so it's certainly not a reaction to the Take-Two Zynga acquisition that was early January, as well as the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal. So this was something they had been talking about for a while, which I thought was I don't know. I think for me it was kind of like relieving to hear that, because I think this whole the whole idea that they're actually at war, when like in reality the past couple weeks we've clearly seen, especially Phil is like, especially like the Microsoft side, he's very much trying to keep things uniform and still make sure Sony has a solid place in the industry. So it is comforting to hear.
Yeah, it's strategic too because like Sony is a cornerstone of gaming. Like some people's first ever consoles were like the original PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, I mean that those are memories you can't take away from people. So
Right.
if they were to just leave gaming or something like that, what people are fearing like Microsoft is taking over the industry, it's like that'd be really sad to see.
Yeah. I mean, PS2, I'm pretty sure, isn't that one of the most sold consoles of all time? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it is.
it was manufactured for the longest too. Like they were still making new
Hmm.
PS2s years and years after like even the PS3 I think was out.
Yeah, they were.
Like,
Like the PS3 was out for like a year or two, and they were still making PS2s because they
yeah.
were selling.
Yeah, man.
Everybody was getting them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
So,
always gonna have a place in the industry in my eyes. And yeah, I mean, like I had talked about a little bit earlier with you too, of like the whole like Take-Two Zynga deal for 12.7 billion that was completely overshadowed
yeah.
by the Microsoft deal. And like it's so funny too, because a lot of these articles, I can maybe even pull it up here like on the fly. Like some of the article headlines were so funny too, of like the Take-Two deal, because they said Take-Two Interactive to acquire social game developer Zynga for 12.7. This deal may be the biggest in video game history, and then literally a week later it just was
Yeah.
blown out of the water.
Yeah, gone.
So,
Gone.
it was
70 million.
overshadowed.
70
Yeah.
billion.
Yeah. It's yeah, so I completely forgot about this, but yeah, this was I mean, this is another huge one too, cuz Zynga, I've seen the Zynga logo with like the, I guess, the pit bull. Like I've seen that
Mhm.
logo on a lot of different games, so there certainly is a certainly
Oh, it's
buying a
massive.
yeah.
It's massive. Every good game on mobile is Zynga.
Yeah.
Like every game.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
So, great deal, worth 12.7 billion. So, yeah, it's crazy to me too, seeing all these numbers. It's like it makes you wonder, like, I mean, obviously that's what I think a lot of these things are worth now. I don't think they're making bad deals, but it's like it's just so mind blowing to see this in gaming.
I mean, gaming's the future. Everybody games now. And
Yeah.
we have to thank Ninja and Drake for it. They made it cool. People are publicly talking about gaming now.
Yeah.
You got so many streamers. Dude, I remember being like shamed when I told people that I beat Halo 3 Legendary first night it came out. Get made fun of by people. You're like, you're such a nerd. It's like bullying me. It's like now everybody's just like, I hear you play games. This is awesome. What do you do? You have a stream? Let me
Yeah.
check it
Yeah.
out. Like everybody's excited now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
times
man.
are changing, and it's cool to see.
It's I don't know, man. This could very well be coming up. One of the best times to be a gamer, for sure. All these
Oh,
deals and
by far, man.
oh man, like if you were excited about the stuff that came out into the 2010s, I think the middle to end of the 2020s is going to be insane.
I hope so.
Oh,
I hope
I hope
so.
so too. Honestly, I really
Yeah,
do. Um, so yeah, I had
it's
mentioned.
good.
Yeah, anyways, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna. You just reminded me. I was like, it's gonna be hard to beat the 2010s though, because you had Halo 3 at that time, Modern Warfare 2, and CS:GO.
Yeah,
Is like that. Like if you're a shooter fan, that's peak,
yeah,
like peak years right there.
that's true. I think. Yeah, I mean, there's also I think certainly some nostalgia classes. At least like so I'm from like the COD perspective, right? So like
Mhm.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be like, yo, if they just like remade Modern Warfare 2 and they just came out with that,
Everybody.
like oh, like we'd be on it, it'd be great. But like I mean, I don't know, unless I'm doing like competitive in that game again, because like competitive is so much fun in Modern Warfare 2. Like I,
Oh
I would
yeah.
I would just run like game battles on it with my friends. And even if we were losing, we were having fun. And we just like would stay up all night playing game battles. Like, that was a lot of fun. So I mean, if there's like something like that again, I would certainly be back on that. But yeah, I think to a certain extent, it's like it's. I feel like I feel so. I feel so bad for like some of the developers because it's like, how do you capture that like level of like intrigue for newer players, but also be like, hey, like people that have been playing this for like 10 years, like we're adding some stuff back that's pretty cool, and I know you like. It's a weird balance, and I don't know how they're gonna like do it because like especially COD now, it's like I like don't get me wrong, the new engine looks great and I think the graphics are great, but I think it pulls more and more away from like the arcadey feel that COD used to be, and it's kind of going more towards like a Battlefield type like shooter. Granted, it's still arena, right? Like they haven't gotten rid of that,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be just like for me, especially. I mean, and maybe it would be dated if I went back and played some of the older games now, but I don't know. I just like the feel of those. Like, I just loved the feel of those games, and I feel like I don't get that with newer CODs.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to take, right? Because it's like it's still an art form, but I think it's been because of the growth of the industry overall. I think that it got a little bit corporatized,
Yeah,
and the art of it got taken out and replaced with the business aspect of it,
definitely.
which is why like games are becoming a little bit more monetized now. Sometimes like egregiously monetized, and the actual art, the storytelling, the uh basically like being engulfed, like consumed by the story in the game itself is kind of disappearing,
Yeah,
I think. There are some games that definitely come back and they hit hard. Like The Last of Us, that like grabs you.
yeah,
Or
yeah. It does.
like yeah, there's some good ones out there, but I'm like it's not as common, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying.
See, that's like yeah, and that's the thing too, man. Like single player games, they're that's why I'll always go back to them because I like for one, I love story, but like two, it's just like as graphics get better, like that's I think the game
Oh
that
yeah.
they those are the games that benefit the most from like
Oh yeah.
innovation and stuff like that. So that's why I'll always go back to them, and they're always going to be just number one for me. I think. Um, but yeah, I mean, like just to touch on COD a little bit more, I'll have to send you this because I saw there was kind of like a small like just like I guess like pop up podcast that Nate Shot and Hex did on like one of Nate Shot's streams, and it's like they just talked about CDL and like the state of COD and like reminisced a little bit about like past like MLG like COD stuff, and it's like they hit the nail on the head so well on a lot of their points about like why they think COD is the way it is now and why they think like the CDL is the way it is, and like they really talked about just the like the overall just like the marketing behind COD and probably a really good reason about why they don't have like a league play or like a ranked system in the newest COD and stuff like that because like they want to make sure like people are pretty interested when the game comes out for the first couple of months of just like regular casual play, and then like when the events happen that kind of brings resurgence back to the game, like people want to come back. But then when they think when the game's going to start to die out, especially like probably around like like April, May, that's probably when they may bring like a rank system to be like, hey, by the way, here's the league play everyone's wanted since release, and you're gonna come back and play.
Just
I know you
drag people
are.
back.
It's like they think they're just kind of using that as like a marketing ploy at this point, just to get a resurgence back whenever the game kind of dips out a little bit. Which is I don't know, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, man. I really wish they would just like because like especially like league play and like the older COD games was like it was so good and the ranking system was so good, but like and it was like on release and now like people are these competitive players are forced to wait and it's really unfortunate for that scene.
Yeah, it's I mean that's kind of how a lot of scenes are going now. Like the actual competitive scene and competitive community have to make their own leagues now in order to actually like practice and like get matches and scrimmages going.
Yeah.
So you can't just go into a matchmaking playlist and have the same experience as you would doing those custom games and playing with like your friends
Yeah.
or like rivals, I guess, you know.
Exactly. Like because I mean a lot of those guys too, especially in the CDL, like they can't like they weren't like allowed to play matches together and like do like random things, which is the weirdest thing to me. I don't know what they're doing over there, but
Yeah,
um
I need to do. I've been hearing a whole bunch of rumbles and like everything that's going on over there, and I know I've talked to you about like how strong my feelings are towards franchise leagues,
Yeah,
and I think we should probably look into doing some research, the two of us, and do some type of special on the CDL.
yeah, really do a
I
deep
think
dive.
I think people would actually they might like that
Yeah,
if we go into a CDL deep dive.
yeah, that'd be good content. I'd be interested. But I just, yeah, I don't know. It's um also like they touched on too in that kind of like makeshift podcast they did of like the whole of see like the way it was back in the day of just like MLG, like whenever MLG started, and even like for Halo, it's like they had those MLG events and they were great. Like that was like
Oh
peak
yeah,
almost, you know what I mean? It's like, and then because they like a lot of the stuff they were talking about with COD was like the exact same. I feel like when you've described like old like Halo to me of like where it's like the player like people cared about the players and like what they were doing and like having those
yep,
frequent tourneys and like having all of that, it's like you got like it hooked people in because they wanted to know what these players are gonna do, and it's like there's not really that anymore in the CDL either because they don't have any events to play and they can't like do anything. It's like
yeah.
they're stripping
I,
away what made it great.
there are ways that I know how I would bring it back if I were them, and like the first thing I would implement is I would grab like people from that were like whatever a player's known for. So if like there's a player that's known for being the best sniper, best like quick scoper in the game, and then like there's another person that's also considered the best quick scoper, and nobody really was able to decide who was the best one. I would do a paid like pay-per-view event kind of thing, and I would have those two guys do one-on-ones on like 5 different maps.
Yeah,
And like the players get paid regardless, right?
yeah,
They're not playing for real money. They're just playing for like bragging rights. And you got
mm-hmm.
to let them know and encourage them just like, "Hey, like have a little bit of like banter back and forth.
Yeah,
Like make the fans interested, you know what I mean?"
yeah,
Kind of like I mean, that's why the WWE is so successful.
yeah.
Everybody
That's
knows it's
true.
fake,
Yeah,
but they just love watching like the ridiculousness of it.
yeah, exactly.
And I would do that like day one. Be
Yeah,
like, top
no,
snipers go one on one.
yeah,
Get the if they're like brothers or I don't know, like coaches, because there are coaches in the league, I'm sure.
yeah.
Get
Oh yeah,
get like multiple coaches and have them pick their favorite player, and then do 2v2s,
yeah,
2v2 tournament. Like you can do anything.
yeah.
It
There's a
doesn't always
yeah,
have to be. So
yeah. That's a
personality driven always succeeds.
yeah. No, I mean those are great ideas. I think they could do it. I mean the whole thing too of like tournaments, like there's so many players in the game now in terms of online tournaments. Like it used to
Yes.
be like just MLG, right? And so like people
Mhm.
would like if you tweeted out like, oh, I won this like tournament this past weekend, like people would be like, oh, like yo, he actually won that. That's like the only thing. Like that's a really hard
To win, yeah.
competition. And so now
Yeah.
people are just like, especially the UMGs and like the Facets of just like, these like 500 or not 500, but like $50 or like $100 pop ups. It's like no one really like cares if you win it. It's just like whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah. It's
maybe they should just go back to one, like just be like, hey, like let's just do one, bracket, one system
what
again.
yeah. I mean that's part of it too. Basically, they have a lot of work to do. They need to reevaluate what they're doing over there
Yeah,
because it seems to be in shambles.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
I'm gonna send you that video though. I think you liked it.
yeah,
Um,
please do.
Pretty interesting. Anyways, to round out the Sony acquisition stuff, there's also another article from Polygon about Sony with Bungie's help is set to launch quote more than 10 live service games by 2026. Pretty bold statement. But it's clear that they are looking to expand their online multiplayer reach with the acquisition of Bungie, and I'm sure other studios to follow. This is Sony's purchased like any other like Microsoft too, they purchased studios in the past, and I don't think this is certainly not the last one they're gonna purchase. So it is I think them purchasing Bungie I think is one of the better live service games out there right now. So
Yes.
they certainly know what they're doing. Um so I mean it's arguable too whether or not they're pushing out content enough because there is. I mean, I've even talking to some of my friends who are heavily involved in Destiny. They too have complained about like these expansions are really good, but it's just they take forever and granted, they want to make sure they do it right, and I think they do for the most part. It's certainly, hopefully, with the help of the acquisition, they can help kind of speed that along and make their live service even better. And I think Sony's certainly going to take some notes from Bungie too about implementing apparently these 10 games they want to get out before the end of the fiscal year of 2026. So, and the fiscal year
Yeah.
ends on March 31st, as it says in this article. So it's certainly early in that year too. They're not giving themselves much room.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Live action or live service games, it's kind of like it's really good what Destiny's doing, right? Because every single time there's a live action, like the new update that they do, it's a perfect opportunity to bring in people that have never played Destiny before in their lives.
Yeah.
Like, so the next one is it's just called Witch Queen,
Yeah,
isn't it?
the Witch Queen. It's the newest
Yeah.
one coming
So
out in a couple weeks.
it's like I haven't played Destiny in about a year, but I remember it being perfectly optimized for my PC.
Oh
And I
yeah.
was getting like 250 frames and like high quality. I was like, "Oh my god!" I
Yeah, I
was
remember that
like,
too. Like when Destiny 2
"It was
first came out, 2017, when it first came
yeah,
out, and I played it,
yeah,
I was like, dude, like I had a new PC, but it's like, whoa, like it was weird because like it was
yeah."
it like just ran smooth, and I was like, oh, this is what an optimized game is like.
You know, and
Goodness.
not only that, but that I played that game and I was immediately just like, "I need a better monitor." Like I'm being bottlenecked by my monitor right now. So I was like immediately looking for new monitors after that.
Nice.
So well, I'm definitely gonna play it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm excited, and just to see that Sony is promising 10. I mean, that's bold. That is very bold to
Oh,
say that in a very short amount of time.
I mean, yeah, that's 4 years. Like, gosh, man, these Sony these I don't know what they call their media press conferences anymore. It's like Sony Experience. No, PlayStation Experience was like their yearly thing, but I don't know what they call them now. It's like their
You
state of
should call it
plays.
Sony
State of
Dreamers.
plays. That's what it is. Sony
They,
state of plays. They're probably gonna be pretty interesting. I have a feeling in the next few years.
yeah.
Um, but oh man, because the article also says there's two major expansions. There's Witch Queen, which is coming out soon, and then there's Lightfall, which I think is even further out than that. But this was in their yeah.
Yeah, they have a
So
proper roadmap.
yeah, because like Beyond Light was I guess 2020. I can't remember if that got moved to 2021 because obviously Witch Queen's
It
not
was 20
2020. Witch Queen is not
Beyond Light was
2021.
2020.
Yeah, so Beyond Light was 2020. Witch Queen obviously got bumped. I mean that's been 2022 now. So Lightfall, it's possible that could be delayed till 2023. I guess depending on how much they have left on that. But yeah, I mean that they did the live service right. I mean they have a roadmap and they're sticking to it, which is huge. So certainly Sony's definitely gonna take some notes from them.
Oh, absolutely. Of how to like properly run a live service game. I keep wanting to say live action. I just want to see movies.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, because isn't it's because so Halo is technically supposed to be a live service, right? Do you think they should consult Bungie? Do you think they should go back to their roots?
I think they need to be more transparent. They need a new PR team. That studio right now, um I understand dreamers. I understand dreamers. I understand people wanting to dream. But you need to be a little bit more upfront and honest about what you're doing
Oh yeah,
because it's radio silent coming out of them. It's like they're the type like they're not speaking up until they're getting yelled at. You know
yeah,
what I mean? When they could just get ahead of it and be like, "All right, guys, we messed up. It's my bad. We're gonna fix it. This is the plan. Let people know the plan." Like
yeah,
the Dying Light 2 developer.
yeah,
They basically came out and they said, "We messed up. The reviews that you're getting are very good. They're not accurate. We got a day one patch." Nobody's gonna be mad. They're gonna be disappointed,
yeah.
you know, but they're not gonna go on Twitter and start making long threads and
Right.
adding every developer like they're doing in the Halo scene right now,
Yeah,
coming after everyone.
yeah. And even with Dying
So
Light 2, they came out with a roadmap and they have I think content slated. They're going to be treating that game pretty much like a live service. Like they have content slated out to like 2027, I think. I mean, they
jeez.
even announced when the first DLC is. I mean, that's within the first DLC expansion is supposed to be within like the next few months. I think it's pretty early after the launch, and then they even have more expansions planned, further on down the line. I don't think they have exact dates on those, but it is definitely they're definitely treating that game as a live service. So I'll be following that, see how that goes, and if they can stick to it pretty well, because it's certainly I think just with Bungie and Destiny alone, like I think the fact that like some of the expansions got delayed, I think that's fine overall. It's just about sticking to it, and they're doing a good job of sticking to it, whether it's like severely delayed or not. So I think that's important, and it could be helping out Sony, man, with those 10 titles they're trying to pump out
Yep.
for sure.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's great content for us, gives us more to talk about going forward, and I'm excited for the future
Oh yeah,
of the industry.
yeah. I'm glad we do the show because it keeps me in tune too. So we'll be knowing everything.
Yeah, it definitely does because you start paying attention to everything going on every week,
Yeah,
and
it's
then like people
interesting.
start bringing it up. You're like, man, that was like 2 weeks ago. Like, where have you
Yeah.
been?
Yeah, right.
It's like you're the
On
new stuff.
it. For sure.
um,
Well, Mike,
so
that was I think it was all the articles I had. So that was it for
yeah,
this week.
I guess the only thing to really wrap up is on our Discord, which should be link in description of wherever you're listening or watching this. You can join. There's an invite link, but we have a release dates of upcoming games,
Ah, yes.
and there are a lot of releases. So much so that if I read all of them off, you're going to get bored and you're going to end the podcast anyway. So let's just concentrate on the ones that are, I guess, the big stars, right?
Yeah.
So for PS4, PS5, for the month of February, you have Dying Light 2, Stay Human. That's today, basically, February 4th. Uh, Following up with Horizon Forbidden West, February 18th. Destiny 2, The Witch Queen, February 22nd. Grid Legends, which I believe is the racing grid. Correct. I believe I'm correct there. February 24th. You have Elden Ring, February 25th. A couple of horror games are coming out that you can check out as well. For the Nintendo Switch, Dying Light is also coming out February 4th. You have Assassin's Creed, the Ezio collection, February 17th. Uh, that's all I know from Nintendo Switch. Do you recognize any of them?
Um, I don't know, not really. I don't think. The Switch is something, especially for me, I haven't really touched it much recently. So
Yeah, I need to do more on the Switch. I gotta steal my girlfriend's Switch, go through it. So for Xbox games, we have Life is Strange Remastered Collection that came out on the first of the month. That's already out. Crossfire X, which I've heard good things about, is February 10th. Lost Ark, which is the follow up to the Ark franchise. That one has, I believe, Vin Diesel in the story arc. Have you have you
oh
seen
yeah,
this?
is that
Yeah,
the same arc? I feel
yeah,
like
I
that's an
believe so.
MM. I think it's an
It's
MMO.
an MMORPG. It's on Xbox and PC.
Yeah.
February 11th.
Huh.
Uh, yeah, I'm excited to see that because the Arc series was pretty popular for streamers for a while, and they're all looking for a new game. I think they're getting bored.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 is also going to be there. You have Grid Legends again, Elden Ring, which we previously mentioned, uh, and then the PC game releases. Pretty much all of them
Yeah.
that we've
Hmm.
already listed are coming out on PC. I think the only other one that we can add on is probably Total War Warhammer 3 is February 17th. That franchise is pretty big. And outside of that, it's yeah, that's pretty much it for the month of February. You can find all of them and more in our Discord or Google, really, what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. But for that was this week's episode. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again next week with more gaming industry related news. Again, it's Mad Mike. You can find me on every social media handle with MadMikeWillEatU, and Kyle is your co-host.
Yep. You can find me on pretty much everything. Kyle Heath or Mr. JK Heath. It's on everything. But yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah. Bye everyone. Thanks for listening.
Peace.